Hey guys, this is Scott. A little while back in the mail, well, it looks like April 20th, I received this postcard. It says, save the date, June 20th, 2015. And today's date is June 11th, 2015, and I am in the process of preparing myself for the Show Me Warbird Invitational. And it is in support of the Central Missouri Honor Flight. And we'll just look at this together. It's Show Me Warbird Squadron, and it's located in Sturgeon, Missouri, and it says you are required for flying and/or observation duty at Sturgeon Field, Sturgeon, Missouri on 6/20/15 for the Show Me Warbird Invitational. Stop. Flying operations start at 10 a.m., lunch at noon, all-day flying of scale RC aircraft. Stop. Donations will be accepted for the Central Missouri Honor Flight. Stop. Contact Steve Forrest, and then you can see there's a photo of the past event. Anyway, that's what this video is about. And we'll take a look at how I'm preparing to go to this. But this is a great event. I've flown in it for 6 or 7 years now, and it's a great honor, really, actually, to be invited to fly. There's a lot of really cool warbirds in this event, and I'll be taking a couple, and we'll look at them here in just a minute. And mine are smaller planes, but the event will have some very large, giant scale P-51s, P-40s, bombers, 4-engine bombers, all kinds of great planes. So on the 20th, I will be recording quite a bit of the event to share with you, which will be on the back end of this video. So anyway, before I get going to that event, I wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what this is. There is the Central Missouri Honor Flight's like Honor Flight anywhere else around the country. It's to raise money for World War II vets to go to Washington, D.C. to see the memorial. So it's a great cause. The only thing that's really becoming saddening to my heart that every year we have some pilots who actually flew some of the planes that we're flying. The old guys like to come out and watch, and of course some of them are in wheelchairs and things like that, and it's usually hot in June here in Missouri, so they can't stay very long, but hopefully there'll be a couple of them there this year. But the problem is that most of them are well into their late 80s, some of them are even into their 90s, and it seems like every year I hear about 2 or 3 World War II warbird pilots that pass away, which is to be expected at the age these guys are at. So anyway, that's kind of a downer, but the event is a lot of fun, and so I look forward to flying in it this year, and hopefully you'll enjoy the video that we make while I'm at the event. Okay, so here's one plane I'm going to be flying in the Missouri Squadron for Honor Flight. It's a P-40 Warhawk. It's what's known as a 60 size plane. And let's try to give you a little good look at it. Here's the tail. Everybody always wants to see that. It's on the rudder. And this is a replica of the Fighting Tigers plane that flew in the China Theater. And this is a great plane. I love this plane. I've had this plane for 6 years now. It has a Sato 91 4-stroke in it. You see the exhaust coming out underneath the teeth there. It has pneumatic air retracts. I'll explain all this when we look at the next plane I'm going to fly. There's Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Charlie's interested too. There's the needle valve adjustment for the engine and the glow driver panel. Then I have two switches for two different battery packs that drive receivers and servos, which I'll try to explain that too, what that means. But there are the retractable landing gear, and it's got a 3x8 prop on it. Anyway, great flying aircraft. A little bit difficult to fly. Its behavior is a lot like the real plane, the real full-scale plane. It's not real easy to fly, but love this plane. Love it a lot. So hopefully be able to get this one on film flying. Flown it probably 3, maybe 4 times in this event. Great aircraft. Okay, guys, so here's the other aircraft I'll be flying, and the Missouri Warbirds Squadron honor flight this weekend. This is a German Focke-Wulf 190, and as you can see, there's no cowl on the aircraft right now. This is another great flying airplane. Love flying this airplane. This is probably my easiest flying warbird plane that I have. And the reason there's no cowl on this plane is because I just replaced the engine. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is like the P-40 Warhawk, it has a 91 glow-powered 4-stroke engine. Okay, you can see here's the valve cover head to the engine. One that lets you get a little look at what the engine looks like, because when the cowl's on it, you can't really tell what the motor looks or the engine looks like. But this is the aircraft. Okay, this is the air input for the retracts, and I'll explain that. This is the indicator for the glow driver. I'll try to explain that, and the charge jack for the glow driver. But so what I'm going to do is what's happened is I had to replace this engine. I'll show you the old engine and what I think's wrong with it, but this one has just, I've been running it up and broke it in. And then of course I need to put the cowl on. Alright, so as I do that, I'll explain what air retracts are. This plane has retractable landing gear that are run on air, just like the P-40 Warhawk I showed you. And really, just like the full-scale planes were, most of them worked on air retracts as well. Always a little bit different than what we do in modeling. But you can see this 4-stroke engine. I'll explain a little bit about that. Most people ask me, well, if it's a 4-stroke engine, it must have oil in the crankcase. And no, it burns oil, gas, or actually nitro mixture. But it does work on the same principle as a 4-stroke engine versus a 2-stroke. It does fire every other cycle of the piston like a 4-stroke engine does. Versus what a 2-stroke, if you know anything about internal combustion engines, you know that a 2-stroke, like in a weed eater or leaf blower or anything like that most people use, there's a firing of ignition every stroke, and this operates like it's a 4-stroke engine, and we'll look at that in a little bit. And as I get ready to put the cowl back on this, we'll disassemble this aircraft and take a look at it so that you can see a little bit of what's inside one of these airplanes and what it's all about. Now, those of you that are into RC, there's nothing much for you to see here. But most of my subscribers are into vintage electronics and probably don't have, or probably haven't seen this, so that's why I'm filming this. And then on Saturday, we'll get a real treat and see some my planes. You guys will see my planes are nothing compared to what's going to be at this event. Okay guys, as I said, on the Focke-Wulf 190 I just showed you, I had to replace the engine, and this is the engine that I replaced. Okay, and I've got it broke down a little bit, well, quite a bit. This is the carburetor assembly right here that goes on to the engine. This is the valve cover head, and then I have also the head of the engine off. And as I said, it's a 4-stroke engine, okay, and it also burns fuel and oil mixture, just like most people recognize with a 2-cycle engine for a weed eater or leaf blower or something like that. But as you can see here, here's the head of the engine. This is the exhaust valve. Okay, hopefully you can see that. That's the exhaust valve, and this is the intake valve. Alright, and these are the tappets that actually go on top of here and move the valves up and down. And then what I have here is the crankcase with the head removed, and you can see as I move the shaft up and down, it moves the lifters up and down. So at first I thought I had a bent lifter in this. The problem with this engine is that it would fire, but it wouldn't keep running. And I thought I had a bent lifter, or maybe even a bent rod, but I don't think that's the case. I think that I have a bad keeper here on the main bearing. I think that's what's wrong. I'm not sure. But I had another one of these engines in stock, and so I just went ahead and replaced it because I don't really have time to overhaul this engine before the event this weekend. So, but eventually I will. And you can see here, here's the piston inside the cylinder. It's a ringed piston, and let's see, what else do I want to tell you about these engines? They're really cool sounding. The two-stroke, and I have some two-stroke RC airplane engines. They definitely have a different sound than the four-stroke, and they definitely run a higher RPM. And but the advantage of a four-stroke engine is that these do produce more torque, not as much RPM, but more torque on the prop. So you can get quite a bit more power from a four-stroke. In here, I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's the cam, just like in any car engine or any other four-stroke engine. There's a cam, okay, a timing cam, and that has to be right. That makes sure that your lifters go up and down and everything's timed right. And that's not the problem with this engine. The problem is, well, actually what's happening is that the timing cam is slipping, but it's not because of the cam itself. It's more than likely the cause of this. I can't forget what they call this. I forget what they call this, but it's a oh, I forget what they call this. But it slides into this bearing, and if it's not right and it's slipping, it can cause your timing to be off. So that's kind of what's going on with this engine, and it has to do with this little key right here that needs to be replaced. And then this engine will be fine, and I'll put it back in my stock and I'll keep using it because it really doesn't have that much time on this engine. So hopefully you enjoyed looking at that a little bit. And then when I come back, we'll take the Focke-Wulf 190 apart, and I'll show you a little bit about how it works, how the whole airplane works. Okay? Thanks. Okay guys, so a little bit more about how this plane operates. I've got the plane up on a caddy on the workbench now, and obviously it's inverted so that we can take a good look at a couple of things. First off, you'll see this little orange box right here. This is called a glow driver, onboard glow driver. It is the actual glow driver circuit board as well as a battery contained in one unit. And what this basically does is provide heat to the glow plug, which is much like a spark plug in any other engine. But with glow engines, heat needs to be applied to this engine to fire the plug in order to start the engine. And then normally you can remove this and the engine will continue to run. You don't need a continuous ignition source like a lot of gas engines. But in some four-stroke glow applications, it's good to have this. But the biggest advantage of this is I don't have to cut a hole through the cowl to put a glow driver stick on here. It's all done internally, and this battery charges itself internally. And right there is the port on how I charge it. So there's just a wall charger, and it has this adapter on it, and you just stick that in and you charge that glow driver. And I can charge it 4, 5, 6 hours, and that battery will last pretty much all day flying. Now the other thing that I've done here is I use this tool, which is just like a bicycle air pump. It has this type of connection on it, and you can see it goes right there. Alright, see if I can zoom in on that. It's a lot like a bicycle tire air receptacle. And so what I do is I pressurize the system up to 100 psi, and that will allow us to cycle the landing gear 5-6 times. You would never really probably ever need to cycle your gear more than that during a normal flight. And always pre-flight I check the pressure to make sure that there's plenty of air in there, so that if you do have an emergency or some reason to cycle your landing gear more than once, you've got plenty of air to do that. And of course, underneath the wings now you can see the control surfaces. These are the ailerons, as well as the hinges and the servo arm sticking out here with the linkages that control the ailerons. And then these are flaps. And then down there you can see how the elevator and the rudder are controlled. Okay, and we'll look at that from the inside in just a minute. Right now what I want to show you is the radio that's used in this plane. And go ahead and turn it on. This is an Aurora, high-tech Aurora 9 radio. It's a great radio. And so now it's asking me if I want to transmit to the plane. I said yes. So now I'm just going to go ahead and simply turn the airplane on. You heard a beep, and that now tells me that the airplane is on. So basically, on a remote control transmitter, you have two sticks that basically operate 4 channels. This left stick going up and down is the throttle. This stick here going left to right operates the rudder. Okay. This stick here going up and down operates the elevator. Okay, as I move the elevator up and down, this is up, this is down, and then this stick operates the ailerons, which make the aircraft roll to the right, roll to the left. This points the nose down, and this will cause the aircraft to gain altitude. And the rudder will point the airplane left and right. So that's basically the control on that. And then this switch right here will operate the ailerons, or I'm sorry, not the ailerons, the flaps. So that's the first flap position, and then one more switch is full flap. Okay, which allows you to fly the plane at a slower speed and still have lift. So you can see there's the 2 different positions. Okay, and a lot of times on a smaller field, you would use full flaps so that you can approach slower. And then on a larger field where you got plenty of room to make your approach, this is generally the flap setting that I use. So that controls that. And then this switch right behind, when it's in the down position or toward the ground, that tells me that my landing gear is down. Now when we switch this position up right after takeoff, you can see what happened there. The gear is now up in the wells. Okay, so when it comes time to land, you very simply hit this switch and the gear comes back out. Now there's a little closer look at the air cylinder that controls the retract. This is the retract, and this is the air cylinder that controls it. So you can see when I retract them back up, that's how they work. And I don't know if you can see the airlines in there. Maybe you can after I put them back up. You can see where the airline connects right there. And there's 2 different ones. There's a black airline that connects to a valve right here. So when we look inside the airplane, that'll make a little bit more sense, which we're going to do right now. Okay, so now we're going to remove the wing, and the wing is attached by 2 nylon wing bolts that screw into the fuselage, and then there's also a clip right here that hooks into the front. And when you first pull the wing, you can see a lot of wires and connections, and these are all color coded, and they simply come apart like this. And we'll take a closer look at these in a minute so you can see what these wires are all about. But these wires are basically to the servo motors that operate the ailerons and the flaps. And then this is the airlines to the retracts. And so when I disconnect this, there's going to be a sound. That's the system relieving itself of pressure. Just like that. So now there is no air in the air tank inside the fuselage, so our retracts would not be able to operate without that. So these are just quick connects. They're pretty cool how they work, and this is a real strong plastic tubing that's capable of holding quite a bit of air pressure. Set this wing aside. Set the wing aside, and let's take a peek inside here. I'll show you a few things. Okay, basically what we're looking at is the inside of the fuselage. These are the connections that go to the main wing. This is the fuel tank. These are the connections for the glow driver. The glow driver is connected to the actual radio receiver and the throttle servo, which happens to be this one right here. And then demonstrate how that works. That's ultimately connected to the carburetor, and that is a closed situation, or a low idle situation. And as we increase the stick, as I increase the stick, the throttle moves and opens the carburetor. This is the elevator servo, and you can see the elevator has 2 different connections for extra strength, and it has 2 wires, or 2 control rods that actually form one to the servo. This servo right here, I believe that is the retract servo. Okay, so it is connected to a little valve that we won't be able to see, but it's underneath the air tank here, and it simply opens and closes the system to allow air to come from the tank and provide pressure to the retracts. So depending on what position this servo's in is what position your landing gear will be in. This servo hiding down here controls the rudder. Okay, as I move it, it is controlling both the landing gear for steering and the rudder for in-flight. And then this is what we call moose cans, basically, because they look like a moose can, but this is our air pressure tank. And then you can see through here is that connection to where we apply the pump to actually pump up, just like you would a bicycle tire, this tank to 100 psi. And that's how you store your air during a flight. Down below here, underneath this foam, is the battery pack. It's a 6-volt battery pack, rechargeable NiCad. And then underneath it is where the radio receiver is located. And all the servos are connected to the radio receiver. as well as the battery that supplies the power for all the servos to operate and the airplane to be able to be controlled. This little connection right here is the actual light, okay, and that is the glow driver light. So I'm going to try to demonstrate. You see where the throttle's at now. If the engine was running, it would be running pretty fast right now, and you see the lights off. But as I close the throttle and get it lower, you see that light come on? That tells me it's putting heat to the glow plug. So when I'm getting ready to start the aircraft or start the engine, you know, it needs to be down near the low idle position. One, for safety, and two, that's where the plane will start best. You wouldn't want to have your throttle wide open when you tried to start the engine. But that supplies the heat to the glow plug that's needed to start the engine. This little valve right here, when the cowl's on, I'll show you when I get the cowl on later, it sticks out. This has a little plug that goes into the fuel cans right here. So that's a bottle of fuel just like that one that has a connection in it. It's battery powered to where there's a pump, and then the fueler just sticks in right here, pumps fuel into the fuel tank, and then when the valve comes out, it shuts that piece off and then only allows fuel to go into the carburetor down here. So fueling the plane's very easy too. So anyway, I don't think there's much more to show you. It looks kind of complicated, but it's really not. Looks like it's pretty busy in here, and there is quite a bit of stuff in there, but it's really not that complicated. This particular hose here will come out of the cowl. It's a vent for the crankcase on the 4-stroke engine that they require, and it will shoot out some spent oil occasionally, so you need that to be drained out of the cowl area, and that's what that hose is for. This hose is connected to the fuel tank, and this is the muffler, exhaust system muffler, and it provides back pressure to help feed fuel in to the carburetor. So that's what that is. Okay, so that's kind of what they look like on the inside. A little bit about how the radio works. What I'm going to do now is get the cowl on, and then it's actually raining right now, but a little later I want to run it up one more time with the cowl on before I take it to the field to try to fly it. I've ran it 3 times to break it in without the cowl on, to make adjustments to the engine and the settings on the carburetor, and I think I got it running pretty good right now, but I need to run it one more time with the cowl on. So that's what I'm going to do now, is get the cowl back on, assemble it all back together, and then we'll do a little bit of a shot of the engine actually running. Okay, here we are back together. Putting in fuel. Okay. Full of fuel. Now let's start it. Excellent. Okay guys, so there it is, put back together. Next time you'll see this, the P-40 Warhawk, I will be in Sturgeon, Missouri this Saturday. Today is Wednesday. So I will have a separate video for that, maybe even 2 videos, because it's going to be quite a day, at least if it's like it has been in the past. So hopefully you'll enjoy seeing that, and I hope you enjoyed looking at the 2 planes I'm going to take to the event, and a little bit about preparation and how you get ready. The other thing that I'm going to be doing is on Friday I'll be going to a town called Bolivar, Missouri, going to a ProBro event where we fly profile planes like these 2 here. So I'm getting those ready, as well as my pizza box, which is right there. It's a very interesting concept, flying a piece of corrugated plastic with a glow engine on it. It is wild. It's a wild ride, and challenging to fly, but I'll be taking that. So I'll be filming some of this event too. So yeah, I'm going to have a big weekend of flying. Here in central Missouri, we've been getting rain for the last 4 days. You can see it back here off my porch, and in the back it's just wet everywhere. But the forecast is for about 88 degrees, 10 to 12 mile an hour winds for the warbird fly, so should be a good day. And then tomorrow's or Friday's fly for these planes is about the same. So anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this, and look forward to going to the flying field and sharing some more with you. Alright, until next time, thanks for watching. This is Scott.